As a kid, I remember so well, you know, meeting older people in town, and they ask my name, and I say, you know, tell them, you know, Del Bianco, and they go, oh, your grandfather, God bless him. He carved my mother's tombstone or my father's headstone. And they would have this like reverence for my grandfather. And it made, you know, quite an impression on me. In fact, somebody said to me years ago, I tell everybody that the chief carver of Mount Rushmore carved my father's headstone. And I just thought, what else can be said? I could remember being that same age, and whenever Mount Rushmore would come up on the television on a commercial or an image of it anywhere, my older sisters or my parents would say, oh, Grandpa did that. And I remember thinking, wow, he did that? He carved, you know, I just remember, but I didn't quite put it together until I was in second grade, and I found this old yellowed brochure about Mount Rushmore from the 30s. I had incredible documentation about my grandfather, and that Mount Rushmore, very politely, has been refusing to acknowledge that that documentation, you know, is more than enough proof to give him credit and recognition as chief carver. The policy that has been in stone, no pun intended, for like 80 years, that all of the workers would be, you know, grouped together, was still going to stand. And so the secretary who typed memos and the laborers who moved stone would be in the same classification as the guy who, you know, put soul into Lincoln's eye. This is in 1933 when Borglum was, bought my grandfather out to Mount Rushmore because Hugo Vila was not working with Borglum anymore, and he needed someone else to assist him. And he writes, in 1933, I notified Tallman and my son Lincoln, who was here pointing, that I was bringing with me as an assistant a semi-sculptor who had been with me off and on in the East for 12 years, a powerful, capable granite man whom I had converted into an efficient marble cutter. I was immediately notified that his presence here was objected to and that the Rapid City office did not want him. I ignored this and put him immediately in charge of the work and workmen on Washington's head, meaning the face and wig. Bianco has all of Villa's ability plus power and honesty and dependability. We could double our progress if we could have two like Bianco. Now I've decided we must keep Bianco and keep him happy. If he were working for me, I would pay him $11 or $12. I want him to receive $1 an hour. You may charge me with the difference. The help he is, the ability to understand, is worth much more to the work. When he was feeling a little stronger on certain days, I would help him out of bed, this little 5-year-old kid, and he would take me into a room and he would show me this bust of himself, a self-portrait that he did out of white Carrara marble. And I remember when I saw it, I thought it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And he would take my little 5-year-old fingers and feel his marble profile. I put his own fedora on his own carved head. And then he would take me by the shoulders, very serious voice, and he'd say, hey, I am Luigi. You are Luigi. And, you know, I truly believe that even though I knew him for such a short time, that he wanted that connection between the two of us to be known, because he passed away very soon after that. Yeah, I'm trying to reach Cam Shally, please. Yes, I've left several messages. My name is Lou Del Bianco. I'm the grandson of the chief carver, Luigi Del Bianco, and I have some, you know, really important information I want to share with Cam. I just got off the phone with Cam Shally. He is the director of the Midwestern region of the National Park Service. So I explained to him as much as I could, you know, what my family's been going through and what their reaction has been. And he proceeded to, and I can't blame him because it's the information that was given to him, he read back to me the party line, which was that Luigi Del Bianco is in several photographs in the Workers' Museum. He is mentioned in several books in the bookshop, and he has listed as in one of the record sheets, you know, work that was done that day. And I said, yeah, you know, I know. I know that he's mentioned, but he's not mentioned as the chief carver. and he's not acknowledged as the chief carver, and his story is not being told. He has a unique story. He was head and shoulders above everybody there. He told me that he was going to go to my website, which he had not been to. He was going to read through everything, look at all the videos, and he promises me that he will make a very, fair decision. I remember when my mother told me about my grandfather, I was so excited that I opened up that booklet and I started looking for him. I just, every man that was on the mountain in those photos, oh, is that him? Oh, no, that's not him, he's too small. Oh wait, there's the hat he's wearing. Maybe that's the hat that I put on his carved head. No, that's not it. And just poring over the booklet over and over again and just realizing that he's not there. So I couldn't find him. And I didn't realize at the time as a 7-year-old that I couldn't find him because he was hidden. Who was hiding him, what, how, I don't know. All I know is that my journey looking for my grandfather and his worth on that mountain started with that 7-year-old boy, looking for him in that booklet. Sharing these documents, talking about how my grandfather was considered by Borglum to be the only trained carver on the mountain who understood the language of the sculptor, and he was worth more than any 3 men in America, all of that stuff. And good rookie on the New York Yankees. When Cam heard all of that, he was impressed. He said, this is pretty compelling stuff. I said, yeah. I said, Cam, I've heard that before. Many people before you were impressed as well. But then somewhere along the line, it all went south. I'm hoping that maybe you'll be different. And he was. He was about as different as you can get. I got a call a couple weeks later, and it's Cam Shally. And he says, I want to propose something to you. I said, yeah. He said, I would like to send the head historian for the national parks and one of our really esteemed historians out of Missouri to come to your house. I will fly them, see you personally, and they will sit and they will go through every single document with a fine-tooth comb and then make a recommendation either way as to whether your grandfather deserves to be recognized beyond the other 400 people. We sat at the dining room table. I made copies of the books for each of them, and basically the book consists of 61 primary source documents from the Library of Congress in chronological order from 1933 to 1940 that involves my grandfather's participation, as chief carver. I basically wrote an outline of what they were to expect to read and how these documents would prove his importance, and then wrote a wish list as to how I'd like him to be recognized and why. And so we just literally sat down and went through them, and by the third document, Mr. Sutton said, wow. He said, this is really impressive. And it was then I was like, hey, this is nothing. I said, we've just started. This is like a taste. And it's true. I mean, so already the historians were probably thinking, why did it take this long? So when I started getting to the really meaty documents, like, he's worth any 3 men in America for this type of work, I just, I just lost it. I just got really emotional. I mean, I must have, for many reasons, whether it's the fact that I'm sitting on the shoulders of people that came before me, like my Uncle Caesar, who did the research at the Library of Congress and wouldn't live to see this day. I'd like to think that he knows in his own way. And just the buildup. It's like a pressure cooker, It's just it comes to a point, culminates, and then boom, before you know it, what you've hoped for is actually happening. You've got a willing audience of historians and primary source documents. I'm not a historian, I'm a storyteller. But what do storytellers do? The word story is in history, right? The first thing they said was, you need to know that for the Midwest regional director of the national parks to fly out 2 historians to your house, you've got to know that he means business and he's taking this very seriously and he's looking for our support. We have every intention to go back and recommend that your grandfather get recognized. What I envision is the plaque being installed in the sculptor studio, which is where the models of the presidents are, and where my grandfather spent just about every day measuring points, consulting with Borglum. The first person I ever remember hugging me in my whole life was my grandfather, was Luigi. And when I'm unveiling that plaque, I feel like it's my hug back to him. And I feel like this is my way of embracing him and letting him know that even though I knew him for a short time, that I've always loved him and was proud of what he did, and that this whole journey was so worth it, so worth it. So it's a hug. I am Luigi, you are Luigi.